Oh, yeah.
Bless and love, my lords. Welcome to another Redlion Spaces. It's a Punk Talk Spaces today. I'm joined, of course, by our co-host, Dudley. How's it going?
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the show. All good, all good. Stoked for this.
And welcome down, Dan Sickles, if I say that correctly.
Yeah, you got it.
Because last time I was saying Dan Sickles, and I was like, Dudley was like, no, don't pronounce it like that.
Dan Sickles. It's like that. Dan.
You know, I grew up with the name, so it's been pronounced all kinds of ways.
It's a very cool name, man. It rolls good on the tongue once you know how to pronounce it, of course.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, when you're like, 10 to 13 years old, and everybody's like, oh, you should name your kid Pop, nice, or Buy, or Try, or Test. You're kind of like, bummer. But now it's something I appreciate for sure.
Yeah,
It's good to be with you guys. How are you?
great to meet you, man. I'm really excited for our chat today, and it's the first time we talk.
I know. It's been a minute. I know that we've been meaning to connect.
Sorry, Dudley, you broke up there.
I said he's new in here.
Oh, he's new in here.
Yes.
I see what you did there.
Pun intended.
So very, very nice to meet you, man. And I love those punk spaces because it gives me the opportunity to connect with so many people that we have chatted before or interacted, and we never had the opportunity to talk. So it's a beautiful thing. Why don't we start how we always start and share with us your punk story?
Well, my punk story, it really begins, I'd say, the better part of 2 years ago. Like when I first started like learning about NFTs and crypto art, all roads kind of like led back to Larva Labs and CryptoPunks, especially at that moment. This is like before the Christie sale. Kind of like at this moment where NFTs were sort of popping off again, CryptoKitties were sort of clogging the chain, all of it. And, I had no idea what they were about. Like I was a complete noob. I can't say that I have anybody in my like meat space community who was into crypto art. So there wasn't really anybody that I could turn to and be like, hey, what's going on with these super expensive JPEGs, right? So they were pretty enigmatic to me at the time, and like, I just took it upon myself to start learning about them and digging in, and I became fascinated because there's so many different things to say about that project and about the time that it was built and the contributions that Matt and John, made then and kind of in the time just after. Not only with punks, but then also with other projects like Dada.nyc and stuff. So I kind of fell in love with the project. And, before starting this film, I'm New Here, I initially drafted a version of this film as a short that was only going to focus on the CryptoPunks. And I was pitching a version of this film around as a short film that was just going to focus on that project and the lead up to actually the first then sale at Christie's. That was sort of going to be the third act of this short. And I was pitching it around to everybody. I talked to the New York Times about it. I talked to anybody who funds short films. And like at that moment, I thought it was a perfect fit because I was like, this is a great blend of art and technology and culture. But no one understood what was going on at the time. Not enough to actually invest in making a film about it, right? So I kind of like, I kind of watched from the sidelines and like, I did my thing and I kept learning and, falling more and more in love with the space as a whole. And that's when I was like, I should probably double down. If this isn't going to work as a short, I'm going to just like double down and make it into a feature. Like Like there's clearly so much to say here, and there is this big disconnect between like the people who fund these projects. That like I think that like there's an opportunity here, to work to sort of demystify what this space is all about, and like that was really, I mean, that was the start of the film. But I didn't buy my punk until really I had committed to starting the film. So I was like, I'm going to make a film about this space. How do I, sort of show my commitment in the best way? And it took about 4 weeks of like conversations with my wife, like about
To convince her.
buying a CryptoPunk. Basically, yeah. I mean, it was like, I mean, the conversation, it's all absurd, right?
Mhm.
Like, it's like spending $100 on a JPEG.
What was your entry price?
It was 20.
And what was the?
And at the time, it was around 40 grand, I'd say.
Mhm. Okay, like a new car.
Yeah. I mean, I've never bought a car. It's like the most expensive thing I've spent money on. And it's like the money that I was using actually to buy it. It was also coming from a place where I had a really shitty experience with a production company that I was working with, and basically I ended up in a really horrible situation with them, and they sort of paid me to like give them sort of all of my work and kind of like leave the project, and like I felt really rotten about it, and that whole situation, and like but I had more money than I had ever sort of received from making it.
Is this what is often referred to as creative differences?
Yes,
All right.
like on a massive scale. Yeah. And so it sort of it was a match, right? I sort of had this miserable experience, received this check for a thing that kind of felt a bit dirty, right? It was like this project that I had built, and like again, everything went awry, and I felt weird kind of using this money in certain ways. So I was like, okay, well, maybe a way of cleaning it is buying art, and like investigating this new fascination bordering on obsession that I have with like this fledgling space, right? And that's why I did it. Like that's why it was like that's why my wife even entertained the conversation of like 40 grand for what? Like she's an investor. I'm not a tech guy, like I'm a filmmaker who really largely focuses on like invisible and marginalized communities. So like to end up here was kind of a left turn after a left turn, and yeah, I mean, I finally bought my punk. It was like 2 summers ago.
So she said yes.
Dang. She didn't it's just she kind of
She gave up.
like literally ended with her being like, you know what, like do what you want to do like you're not going to stop talking about it until you like scratch this itch. And even then I was kind of like, okay, this is either like the smartest thing I'm about to do or the stupidest thing I'm about to do, and it's going to be black or white, and yeah, I did it. I mean, like, but I did it like alone. Like, I didn't tell her when I was doing it. I was just like, I was in a bed.
So you did it like the dirty thing, right? You wanted to clean that dirty body.
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. And like, I didn't even hop into the Discord right away and like announce myself. Like, I had seen that that's kind of what you were supposed to do, and that's what other people did. But like I had this thing where I kind of kept it to myself for like a little bit. I was like, okay, cool. Like you did it. Like now you have it. Like that's the experience. Right
Now what? Now that's it.
yeah. And then, I mean, well, actually what I did, and you can go back in my Twitter feed and find it. Like Noah Davis actually made fun of me recently for it, but like I was proud, right? Because I had also collected like a squiggle and like a curio card around that time, and I was like, yeah, like I'm a collector, and I'm making a movie about this space, and I wrote this whole Twitter thread about my the collection and just sort of like calling out the artists that like I had discovered and kind of like me learning about this space and whatever. And this Twitter thread ends with like me announcing that I bought a CryptoPunk, and I tag John Watkinson, but then I tag Matt Kane. I tagged the wrong Matt.
Oh my God.
It's like
So you tagged Matt Kane artist.
I like straight up. I'm like, yeah, John Watson and Matt has changed the world with examples. And they spend time on this thread, you know, and like, and Matt Kane. I mean, if you've met Matt, he's one of the best guys in the space. He's such a sweetheart. Like he wrote back and he was like, "Hey, Matt, love you too."
Thank you, but it wasn't me. Wrong Matt.
Then that led to me connecting with Matt Kane, which was kind of cool. But yeah, I mean that's how I got started. And that
You see, this is the sort of a thing that you are more embarrassed, but you are more embarrassed yourself when you do it, but others are not. They're not so mindful of it, you know. They're just disregard it. But for you at the time, must have felt a little bit more embarrassing, right?
oh, I mean, dude, this is my like coming out moment. Oh, it's like now I know shit. Yeah. And like literally tagging the wrong guy. And like, I mean, I've left it there. Like, I'm not gonna delete the tweet. It's there. Like, whatever. And I don't know how Noah Davis found it, and like literally just like recirculated it recently, and I was like embarrassed again, like twice over. You know.
That's such a cool story, man. When I remember when this reminded me when I got followed by the CryptoPunks account. My heart started racing, and I was like, "Oh my God, what just fucking happened?" I have to tell everybody. And then I was like, "Relax, okay, keep it to yourself. Don't tell it to anybody, just your friends, and that's it." And yeah, people don't know how some of these parasocial experiences are. You know, they are incredibly intense sometimes.
I love that.
Yeah.
I haven't actually heard anybody really use the term parasocial experience, but I love it.
Well,
So true.
it is used often actually by content creators on Twitch and YouTube when they want to talk about like some weird relationships that their audience develops with them. But it has more meanings than that. But of course, one of it is that. But it's used quite often there.
Yeah, I loved it.
But thanks everyone for joining in. Very happy to see all those familiar faces on the audience. Thanks for coming in to the interview and our company here. So, Dan, very, very nice to hear your story and your punk and some of those insights to your life with your wife, talking about buying a punk or not. Why don't you please go ahead if you want and give us a little bit of TLDR about yourself and your career and what are your previous projects and how you leading up to today, of course.
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, my background is it's in film. I've been making movies for over a decade now, mostly in nonfiction. So mostly making documentaries. I've filmed pretty much all over the world in this work, and you know, I've had two sort of feature-length films come out in theaters since I've started. My first film, Mala Mala, came out in theaters in 2015, actually, after premiering at the Tribeca Film Festival in the United States. But then, like, you know, has done its thing and toured around the world and still actually plays it sort of every summer somewhere. And then my second film premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in 2017, and that film is called Dina. Both of my films actually are available for anybody who's into documentaries. They're available to rent on Amazon or iTunes or whatever you use, and in quite a few countries too. There are global distribution deals for both of them. And if you are curious, obviously feel free to hit me up. But that's largely where my experience is in telling stories of, mostly in invisible and again, like marginalized fledgling communities that are sort of can be feared sort of by the mainstream, misunderstood, communities that experience particular prejudice or bias. And that's sort of been my focus for the large part of my career.
How old were you in 2017?
In 2017, I was 29.
And you prepped
29 years old. And I won something.
And you had a movie going up on Sundance.
Yeah.
That's really impressive, man.
No, thank you. No, I mean it was wild. I think to this day I'm still technically the youngest director to win Sundance.
Wow. And how did it feel like being there in the room at the time, 29 years old, like with your second movie, right, on a festival?
Yeah. I mean, so yeah. Like I mean I remember the night like very vividly. Like the awards ceremony, like I wasn't really planning to go, to be honest, because like the film, if for anyone who's seen Dina, or I guess I can explain it a bit, but it's sort of it's a romantic comedy. It's a documentary. The people in it are very real. It's unscripted, but it plays like a rom-com. And it's this very sort of intimate, delicate story between a middle-aged woman and a middle-aged guy. He's like a door greeter at Walmart, and they're both on the spectrum. And the film sort of tracks them falling in love and them getting married, and their first few months together, sort of negotiating their relationship, and how to love one another. Really, that's what that film is about. And I showed up at Sundance just like really stoked to be there. I was like, like you're already grateful enough that you've been accepted and that you're in an official competition, and like because you're playing with people that you've admired your entire life, right? So I didn't expect too much of it, and like we had a publicist and all of it, but I wasn't prepared for that reception, because every other film shows up with like a crew and like. And they're you want to be loud, and you want to have like a party, and you want to have a sponsor for that party and whatever. And no one was sponsoring our party at Sundance, right? Because it was like a film about a middle-aged woman on the autism spectrum, and it's like, where's the hook there? Like, Red Bull's not going to sponsor that. So I didn't know what to expect, but I went to this thing and whatever, and they read out all the other awards. Like there are other awards that they give out, and I really thought that we were done. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, like whatever, we're here, there's free beer. And literally it was like the last award that they gave out. It was the grand jury prize. And I was with my wife. We weren't married at the time, and my team and a bunch of friends from high school. And when they said it, I like flipped out. It's all on film. It's still on, I think it's on YouTube. But like it was my wife actually who was like, hey, you need to go to the stage now. Cause I just kind of like froze. I'm like, okay, cool. Like I won. Like, okay, like, can we go and drink or whatever? And then, like going on stage and I gave a speech, and the speech is a mess. And then I remember Peter Dinklage, like sitting in the second row and being like, holy shit, like Peter fucking Dinklage is here. And then getting off, and Diego Luna was one of the first people who stopped me, and he was like, hey, I love your movie.
Oh, I love Diego Luna.
Like,
he's so cool.
Very so cool. he's so cool. And I was like, wait, but you're Diego Luna. He was like, yeah. And it was like, wow, okay. And you're in this green room afterwards with like all the other people who won, and like all these like random I mean, I shouldn't say random celebrities, because I guess that's kind of, it doesn't mean anything. But just celebrities, and it was just really, it was totally surreal. I mean, and Dina had been there too, and Dina's 47, and she had never really had the opportunity to tell her story to anybody, and here she is at the biggest film festival in the United States, and like they're applauding her. and like they're connecting with her, and like they're sharing their stories with her, and like, and for me, that's, you're more than making a film. Like, I live for like those combustive experiences, right? Where like I get to bring Dina into a room with like, all these like film critics and high art people, and like, and they come to her, and like that's the shit that I really like live for.
Yeah, it's beautiful because all those people watched the movie and felt a connection to her. And yeah, how else would you relate a person to that many people at one moment? Just through art and film, and that's a beautiful experience, and also the collective experience of cinema, right? And why it is a beautiful, beautiful art.
Totally. And that's, I mean, that's really what I aspire to keep doing, to keep finding these moments and creating these moments where like we make space in like new ways, and people have their minds blown because like they're now questioning something in a new way. And all of that is like really like led to me being here. I think like this is a place that's just like it's so fertile for those questions.
How did you first find out about the crypto space? Not the crypto space, about the NFTs. Like after 2017, I guess, after having this experience and this level of recognition and high, how do you get into NFTs and into the digital realm?
I like, I guess it's like a pretty vanilla story, to be honest. Like I had been reading about CryptoKitties, I was reading about punks, all of that, and so I knew a little bit about what was happening, but I hadn't committed, any finances or resources that way to what was going on. And I think kind of Nifty Gateway was coming along at the time, and I don't think I probably had a wallet, but I think it was just like on Coinbase. And I think it was probably just actually on the exchange at that time. But there was this artist, Kid McGrath, actually, it was from South America, who I really like, and I had been following on Instagram.
Oh my God. I also really like his art, and I was like stalking him, and I was like, you should do NFTs, and what are NFTs, and then NFTs exploded. Yeah. And then NFTs exploded.
What?
Yeah. And then he got into NFTs. And
So you're why I'm here.
really? I was just, nudging him.
Photograph was my first. That was my first NFT. I mean, like, I think he did something on Nifty Gateway, kind of early on in Nifty's life, and like, I was like, oh, cool. Like, I like this artist. Whatever. I had been reading about NFTs, like. Nifty Gateway sells NFTs, but I could do it with a credit card, blah, 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 blah. Like, I didn't go all the cypherpunk way, like at the outset. But he had an auction, and whatever. I got, I think, 2 pieces actually from him at that first auction. And I was just so stoked. And I mean, like, that feeling of like, possessing your first digital asset. You're like, oh, wow.
I found him because I was looking at a lot of artists' art, and a lot of them were stealing art from him, and I was identifying this art from different artists, and I was identifying the style, especially in his early work, and I was like, man, and then I figured out what was going on. And I was like, whoa, totally, he's really good, and he has been doing digital art since forever and GIFs before NFTs, and obviously he's a brilliant digital artist.
Yeah.
I found out he had his courses also. Yeah, and then I followed him, and I was like, dude, you should do it, you should go, and I would buy your NFTs and all of that. And then he later did NFTs, and I never bought them. they were a little bit expensive, but
I bought your NFTs. I bought your NFTs.
They were a little bit expensive, and he had plenty of buyers. But He's brilliant.
To these artists, it's like fuck Render, Slime Sunday, Mad Dog Jones. Like we've seen Kidnograph's work in album covers, music videos. Like we've seen it. It's like been out in pop culture, but we've never known that it's Kidnograph, right?
Yes.
And I think that like sort of coming into contact with that, being like, oh right, shit. Well, like the people who make album covers. I mean, Sam Spratt was like is making Kid Cudi album covers, but like you would never know that that's Sam Spratt until NFTs. You know, at least I'm somebody who hadn't. You know?
Yeah, and there's
and I think that the coming into contact with those digital artists was also just so exciting.
yeah, and so direct, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In the space.
Exactly.
There's I was talking, I cannot remember with which artist I was talking, but you know, the type of artist that has been producing art for his entire career but don't have a personal portfolio. They have been part of a project or I don't know, a game or something, and that really happens a lot of times. I mean, look at his brilliant work, and like I think he didn't have as much recognition pre NFTs. I think that helped a lot to present his work more, you know, his personal work more, and people to look more into it. Because as you said, up till now, sometimes maybe some artists or managers, they're like, oh, he's an album artist, you know, doesn't matter, but it does. It really does.
It absolutely does. And I think that like that was just something that like I don't think I was very conscious of at that moment that was exciting me, but I think it was something just like that in my behavior and how I was responding to like what I was learning and how I was playing in the space, just like that's what I was really into, you know, kind of like this new dynamic where we could like look at works and be like, oh, like I recognize so and so in that, or I recognize so and so in that, and not the brand, to not prioritize the brand over the artist anymore, but to like actually maybe look at some artwork that a brand is using and be like, oh, that reminds me of Kidnograph, or that reminds me of Sam Spratt, or you know. And then there's so many VFX artists and animators that work in film, and it's the same exact thing. Like some unbelievable work has been done for the Russo brothers making the Avengers movies, but like those are teams of people, teams of animators, teams of VFX, you know, designers who also have something to say. And this whole space is just giving an enormous opportunity to those artists to do exactly that.
Yeah, 100%. And also with social media now, I think those artists are have all the right tools, you know, to present their work and show the people what they're working with, but they all sign NDAs and stuff like that, so it gets weird, man. I don't know. But why don't we talk a little bit? I'm new here.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm new here. It's a film, and it's an NFT project. Basically, I guess I sort of speak about them separately, but they really were born together. It's a project that like basically the more time that I was spending in the space, the more that I was learning about it. I was like, well, I should probably find a way of you know, doing what I'm decent at, and try and make a film about like what makes this place relevant, and what makes it exciting and vibrant and fun play in. And that's really where the idea of the film got started. And I guess about 17 months ago is like really when like the first camera was picked up, like dedicated to like capturing what was happening in the space. And since then I've done about 105 interviews now with various developers, artists, collectors, enthusiasts, critics from all over the world. And I'm working to synthesize that into a film, a piece of media, you know, that will eventually play in theaters for sure. But simultaneously also creating a space for people to come and interact in this ecosystem in a safe way. And that's really sort of what the NFT project is working to do. It's simultaneously funding part of the film. And like there's a bit that we can talk about there as to what that looks like for our collectors. But also by owning like a newbie, by owning one of these tokens, it's like a really, really sort of, it's the most frictionless way to collect a really thoughtfully curated collection of crypto art, I'd say, over like the next year and a half. We're sort of building out all these collaborations with different artists who work in different mediums that we're announcing month by month, and like they are getting sort of more and more grand in scope as time goes on. But basically, if you own one of these newbies, like the guarantee is like you'll always be able to collect one of these collaboration pieces for free. Obviously paying for gas and all of that, but that there isn't any sort of more expense other than just being part of our community and the ecosystem. And in doing so, we'll sort of work to curate pieces that like sort of speak to the larger ecosystem or teach our community specific things about what's going on in the crypto art space. So really, I mean, it's a huge effort in onboarding, I'd say, both through the film, but then also through like building out this NFT project and making sure that like people in our Discord know what a cold wallet is and how to set that up, and making sure that we have enough people in our community who are around to answer questions for any actual newbie who finds their way to our project and to this space. So that's what we're up to. But there's so much to talk about. Like the film side, it's massive, and I mean, like I'm kind of in the middle of this editing K-hole right now. I basically just received like it's called a string out. It's kind of between a string out and an assembly of all the footage that we've shot. So like I've been working with my associate editor for about 4.5 months now.
Are you shooting on location?
Sure is it. I'm both shooting in locations and in studio. So like for Beeple, for example, I shot him in South Carolina in his studio. So I spent like a week with him in his like gigantic new studio, just filming his sort of daily life, actually. I'm actually filming him making his everydays. Same with Pussy Riot. Pussy Riot, I filmed with her in Texas. Tyler Hobbs, I also filmed with him in Texas because that's where he's based. So it's really been a mix.
When are you filming with Dudley?
A little bit in Paris.
Go there, film him while he's having breakfast.
That's actually that's the grand shot. That's my last shot for the movie, is the Dudley breakfast shot. We're just saving up to afford all. Yeah, we're just saving up to afford all of the pyrotechnics that we
for explosions.
and the helicopter. I mean, yeah, like we talked about this a little bit, but
and that for me it was instant laugh when I saw it. It just not only for the style, but for whole concept of the fundraising and the story behind, also covering all these amazing people in NFTs. So I'm curious, how did you pick the style? Like, was it like a first thought, or you were browsing some styles to go with? How was
the style for the NFT project?
Yeah.
Like we had initially been making these pixelated characters for our cast anyway, because like I knew that like I wanted to sort of use different ways of showing off our cast in the film. So like, there's a few people who are appearing in live action, like Flesh and Bone. There are a few people who are appearing as like Claire Silver, for example, is like a full body 3D rigged avatar. But then was the first other people. Sorry, was it live action?
No. What was the first PFP or first action figure done? Was it you or?
Oh, the first one?
Yeah.
I think the first one was no, it wasn't me. I think we started with Snowfro. I think we started with Snowfro and Jimmy, and then Tyler Hobbs.
Good start.
And Claire Silver was also up there too.
That's good pick.
Yeah, for sure. And then, like we were sort of conceptualizing about like what the NFT drop could be. And it was always a priority for me that like, the featured cast of the drop would also be included in like the waterfall, right? So like part of what makes New Here special too is that like 15% of the revenue for the project in perpetuity is being split between all of the featured artists. And that percentage may change sort of when we head out of production, but like the intention is that like, the as well as the project does, like all of us sort of benefit together from that. And we were just sort of conceptualizing what would work and like what would sort of represent this idea. And, I love pixel art. I mean, punks are, where a lot of this started. It's where a lot of it started for me, truly. So we just broke it down to be like, okay, cool. Well, we can actually make combinations. Like we can actually make a generative art project that are combinations of all of these traits gathered from our cast that will generate like a one-of-one avatar for each person. So that like when you actually hit mint, like what you're getting on the other side of that is a one-of-one avatar that like has, art gnome headband and Coldy 3D glasses and Tyler Hobbs's body with like Richard's legs, and it's just like a very holistic way of celebrating, the diversity and the scope of the space. So that's kind of like where we went with it. And like it's like the avatars, like they look sick for that reason, because like then like it became a game of just like, well, what these combinations can look like, and like the combinations are actually pretty stellar. To see what like an Oshiny, Max Osiris, Elf J Troll mashup looks like, it's actually pretty fun. So yeah, I mean like that's where it started.
All right, cool. Absolutely love these combinations and funny outcomes, and the minimalistic style is like super fitting for this.
Thank you.
What are you planning with the collection, like to, let's say, after the movie is done and like it's not minted out yet, right? So what is the plan with the collection for upcoming, like, let's say, weeks, months?
Yeah, I mean there's a lot. So again, there's a few coming up, I'd say, over the next 6 weeks. Probably 3 different collaboration drops that we have. Actually, one is happening today, which I should mention. Anybody who is listening who is interested, we are dropping like our version of a meme card today. It's our Meme Wars card, honoring the 6529 meme card collection, but also the rare Pepes, the fake rares, and Sergito's Sees the Memes collection that he recently started. And again, that snapshot is happening in a few hours. And if you're holding a newbie, then you'll be able to claim that meme card for free. But that's something that we have going on today. And then actually next week, we have a collaboration that we're announcing with like a really, really fun satirical artist. And then actually 2 weeks after that, we have another really big collaboration coming down. So all of those collaborations, again, by holding a newbie token, you'll be able to claim for free. And those collaborations we have scheduled through the next 13 months right now. We're still actually piecing together like when comes what, but this film is actually going to be complete at the end of this year. So we can imagine that like over the course of 2024, we're going to be bringing this film out into the world. And like the way that I've always done that, and the way that a lot of films do it, is like they go to lots of different places, right? Like you have a premiere in New York and LA and London and maybe Paris and Berlin. And those are all events that we'll plan to have activations for as well, and actually treat as real onboarding events. So, when we think about the project and what it's here to do and what its aims are, but also what the film is here to do, like there's this really holistic sort of synergy between creating these events, which are screenings and they're very natural, where people are learning about this space, but then also giving them an opportunity to interact with the real project just after it. And then that's really what we're planning, which is sort of like in the vague sense. But we are holding 3,000 newbies back right now so that we can mint out and still have some available sort of in our treasury to onboard people at screenings, and to sort of like create fun opportunities for people to join the community in that way, while also spreading the message of, what decentralization and self-sovereignty and crypto is really about.
I am checking now the the cast that you have here, and you have some wonderful people involved, and so many of them I know personally, and I'm a little jealous. So how could one person join the movie if they would be interested?
I mean, we should talk for sure. Like, it's like, I think that right now, I mean, if I'm fully transparent, like right now we're really focusing on these fundraising efforts. Like, I'm focused on getting like the last money together so that we can build out these worlds. I mean, people are going to see more of this soon, and if you go to our Discord, we've teased out some of this, but like we're working in Unreal Engine, with a team of VFX artists and animators to actually build out spaces for our cast that feature their artwork in very native ways. So like one example is like, Snowfro, and building out a building that is like literally constructed from squiggles, right? So like every time that we see Snowfro in the film, he's surrounded by his work. And those are things that I'm that we're basically budgeting out right now. And the better that I do, like the further it will allow us to continue to sort of expand. Which is always just how independent film works, right? It's like you hit this moment where you're like, okay, this is how much money we have, and like these are the constraints, and like this is what we're working within. But something I will say is that like I'm addicted to these conversations now, and like I'm addicted to like learning more about who these communities consist of, or who makes up these communities, and like we are finding ways of like doing virtual production and all of that. So I guess I'm saying that for anybody that's listening that like is like, hey, like I have a story, like I do want to share, like please reach out to me and then to my team and hop into the Discord, because I don't know who I don't know. And my work right now is to make like the most whole film possible and to capture all of those voices.
Yeah,
So
for sure. And as you said, man, it's very important. All those people that have stories, that exist in these communities, in Discord, here, there, I don't know, to be able to have an outlet to tell them. And this is why we initially started with Redlion, and we said, okay, we will focus on community lore and like recording what is happening, basically, so everybody is a protagonist, everybody
Exactly.
in every story is a protagonist.
Well, and that is an aim too for the New Year project, right? It's like I have all of these interviews, and like you're saying, I mean, like I feel enormously privileged to have spent time with like with this person and this person and this person and this person, and then to have had like a year to do it. I think it is also a priority for us to make sure that like all of the interviews are actually like living somewhere online, right? So that like beyond the film itself, like you'll be able to access my interview with Ben Nolan, or with G Money, or whoever it is that maybe you catch in the film and you're like, I want to like learn more about this person. The idea is for us to actually have a workable library, that is interoperable, that people can access whenever they want.
I would like to learn more about Albertine.
About
here, Albertine, because she has been, yes, she has been a Redlion OG supporter since forever, and we will forever be grateful. Yeah, she's great. So big shout out, and was very happy to see her in your movie. But did you spend 1 week with every person?
No. I mean, most of
Or
our
was it an experience that could span a different amount of time with each person?
Yeah, I'd say the latter. Most of our cast, I have about like an hour and a half to 3.5 hour interview with them, right? But then there are certain people that I shot with on location, or there are certain events that we attended to capture. Um, like in
So you only stalked people.
yeah, I'm talking about people, Jesse Ryan, Tyler Hobbs, um, who else? Latasha, actually,
Mm.
and Claire Silver. I've shot a bit with her in person, actually.
Um,
Even though she won't be appearing that way in the film, but we
and
worked
is it
together.
shot all in the USA or is it in Europe as well?
No, we've had shots in Europe. We've shot in London and Paris.
Oh wow, that's nice.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that like right now, again, this is like one of the conversations that we're having with the budget. My aim is to really set up an on-location shoot in Nigeria because I'd really like to get to Osinachi. Um, and there are a few collectors there that I'd really just like to have a few voices from the African continent, that can speak to this space because I don't have enough of that perspective right now.
Nigeria is an up and coming superpower.
It really is, and
I,
like the artists that are working there in the crypto art scene are they're doing great work.
Hmm. And they are a close community. Uh, we have had spaces. We had a lot of people from there excitedly talking to us about their projects, and it's a young country. There is a little bit of trouble there, but I think eventually, I hope everything is well. But yeah, very young population, fast-moving economy. It's and they are all excited with NFTs. They leapfrogged from, they didn't go into computer, PC, laptop. They went straight into mobile. And
Exactly.
yeah, they are full users now. With a mobile, you can do everything, right?
Similar to some Eastern European countries, right? Where like it's
100%.
just sort of just like leaping ahead into cell phones, and in a way that makes you almost a bit more ahead than the States.
Mm. How many have been minted so far?
How many newbies?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. I think like we're just shy of 4,000. So
Oh, that's really nice.
yeah, no, it's incredible. And like to be honest, like our community's been growing very organically. I feel like there might be a lot of people that say that, but like we've maintained like a really consistent sort of like growth. It really hasn't been this effort to sort of like FOMO in or anything like that. Like we've been very conscious to not try and create an event or a moment where it's like now or never, because there's enough of that in the space.
It's obvious, man. People can tell. People can tell who is fake and not. And I just love this space because it enables people such as yourself and your team, creative people who do so wonderful projects, not only to crowdfund them, but create value, create a community, create experiences out there reality through what they are doing. And it's really amazing to see that there is organic growth there because I don't know, my faith is a little bit on a difficult. Yeah, my faith is a little shaken on the crypto people. But yeah, it's when I hear that you have 4K mints, you finishing the movie this year. It's wonderful to hear, man. I know it's not super easy, but it is what it is, and at some point the movie will be done, and you will look back only at the good part, of the experience for sure.
Absolutely.
It's amazing that you can do it, and people from everywhere can do it like that, right?
For sure. I mean, I think that like it's not easy to raise money for an independent film today. If anything, it's getting harder. Sundance just happened in the States, and like the market was okay. It wasn't, so I think that like if you're somebody who's really like looking into a collaborative arts endeavor, right? Like something that requires capital upfront to even experiment and figure out if you can make. Like that's like film, theater, opera, animation, like these collaborative team art efforts. I think that like this is an incredible opportunity and avenue to explore, right? Because like not only are you sort of piecing together the resources that you need to move forward, but like you're also actively inspiring like a community sort of like kind of coming around this thing, and I can say that like the New Hair community that exists, like they've taught me a lot. Like it's like I see Ezra in this room right now. Like I look to Ezra as somebody that's like, okay, Ezra has his finger on the pulse, like got to see what he's posting, and like I'm learning a lot from the people who have shown up to support me, and like that sort of like dance. It's very new, and it's not how independent film has worked before. So there is a huge opportunity here, and
I think you guys are pioneer. I think that maybe the movie industry is not ready to sell in a way that makes sense for new type of productions to take place.
I mean, I can tell you every conversation that I've had recently with an executive has started with them saying like, hey, Dan, like, because I know a lot of these people from working in the industry, right, for a while. And like, they start the conversation with like, hey, so we know that this whole thing is inevitable, but we have no idea what the fuck is going on. And it's like the weirdest place. It's the weirdest place to pitch from, because it's like, okay, well, do you want to talk about what's going on, or do you want to talk about the movie, or like where do you want to start? Because like I could act as a news source, or we could have a pitch meeting about a film, and that does seem to be the attitude right now. Everyone's like, it's coming, but who's gonna tell us what it is?
There's a disconnect there.
Effort. Yeah, for sure. And I think that, I mean, it's also what you guys are in the business of doing with hosting these spaces and like, Redlion publication and all of that. Like it's working
incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it makes sense that it is, but once it finds opportunity, then.
Sorry, Dudley, what? You broke up?
Yeah, I'm breaking up. I'm sorry. I wanted to ask Dan if he's a holder of Redlion Gazette in any chance, because.
Do you hold any of them?
You know what? I need to check. I think I do. I've been meaning to check before this. I think I hold one in a different wallet, but I'll let you know. It's one of the early ones from. God, it would have been like 8 months ago when you guys were minting one.
Let's fix that. Let's make him a holder.
I will fix it for sure, and I will definitely find out what wallet the one that I have.
No, we are fixing it for you right now. What wallet?
Oh well, okay.
Yeah, just DM Dudley the address.
Actually, not really. No. Wait, it's interactive. It's our first interactive playable video game, as Red like to say, but I say it's a mini game, so check it out. I will send you issue.
Yes. So we are minting you this week's Gazette, which is I like to say it because it's true, Dudley. It's the first ever video game magazine cover, playable also, and the game is good. The game is good. Yeah, the game is good. So have fun with it. Try to beat it if you want. It's not easy. I have to say, it's not easy for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm excited.
But yeah, for sure. And you know what? I also really enjoyed about the whole thing uh, with the newbies. I got it right this time. That the art is so unique and so like it has movement on it. And they are doing stuff, you know. They are not just looking at the camera, which is like most of the PFPs. Like I see this froggy guy here. He's really cute, you know. And Dudley was so impressed with the pixel art and. Yeah, he with the project he minted, and of course, when Dudley mints, I'm getting jealous. I always mint what he mints.
Well, thank you guys. We're honored.
Like, please, and by the way, how did you find the artist? How was the process? Was like looking who's gonna do this art?
One of my producers, actually, he's in this room. Chillzone is here. Chillzone found him online. And yeah, basically discovered him. Quan Soon. He's on Twitter. We just released like a bit of an interview with him on Medium that I think is linked to in our Discord. I can repost that. But yeah, he's new to the space. He was not minting NFTs before this, just like working as an independent pixel artist. And yeah, I mean, this process was baptism by fire because Arnson was like literally, he was dealing with about 1,000 different traits. So you can imagine like the layers and all of the rules that him and Chillzone were really like working through for this generation.
Yeah, because there's definitely some challenges with all these poses and yeah, different, as you said, like actions. I would say that it had to be like a really pain in the ass to just get everything.
Yeah.
Flying.
I mean, it took us a few months to like do the reveal for exactly that reason. It was a combination of that and getting like sign off from all of the artists that like they were happy with their work. But yeah, I mean, like now that it's out, like it's a big sigh of relief. I will say though, actually, that there will be an opportunity for new traits to be revealed eventually. So that like eventually when the entire cast is complete, and again we are holding back those 3,000 newbies, we will be adding new traits. So you know, Dudley, Redlion, when you guys are eventually in the new cast eventually.
Yes, that when I wanted to ask whether there will be.
Yes. How can we link our Redlion?
Yeah, I mean, we should definitely figure out a way to collaborate for sure. But yeah, there will definitely be an opportunity to then like mint newbies that have updated traits once we have like locked the cast and we're further along in post-production. You know, we will be capping things to say, okay, this is like the maximum amount of traits, and that will be our entire ensemble.
Is there a story in the movie that you will create? Is it a movie, a documentary, a film? How would you describe it?
I mean, it's sort of like I'm braiding like a few different things together, right? So the film itself is actually framed as a film within a film. It's told from the perspective of a new user entering the scene, right? And so sort of like Charlie from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
So that's very smart. That's a very smart way to set it up.
Thank you.
That's brilliant, actually. Yeah, that's actually brilliant because most people will not know. Oh my God, that's really nice, man. Very nice angle.
Yeah, so
I love it.
That's sort of the adventure of the film, right? So you have like this new user trying to figure it out, and basically what they're calling up are videos, kind of like how a lot of us entered the scene. Like you were on YouTube, you were on Discord, you were on Twitter, and it was just like the evolution of these things becoming part of our lives grows, right? And I think that it's going to be the same for this new user entering the space. And like the interviews, the videos that they're calling up are basically our interviews, right? and like it's sort of the best of the best. It's like it's sort of a tour of the space without all the useless bullshit or like the grifters or all of that. I mean, we will cover a bit of that, but it's going to be sort of a tour from all the people who know it best. But then we will land in certain scenes, like with Tyler Hobbs, for example. Like we spent a bunch of days with him. We spent several days with him in his studio, sort of like tracking this arc of him creating this drop that he did a year ago called Incomplete Control. So like I have, from the beginning of that idea, basically all the way through his gallery opening in New York City, which was a huge success. He made a few $1 million, all of that. So there were like these
Casually.
to
Easy peasy.
easy, right? But there are all of these like, sort of softer arcs throughout the film too. Like it's like when things start to pick up in between Russia and Ukraine in terms of the timeline for the film. That's also when we meet Pussy Riot, who is like trying to use crypto, trying to use NFTs to basically fight Vladimir Putin. So there's all of these different ways in which like the characters will be contributing to the story of what the space is about. But like, it's not, I guess it's important for me to say, like, it's not like beginning, this is where NFTs started, blah, 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 all the way to the end, It's very important for my team and I that this is a film and that it's an experience.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you got it.
No, I was going to say, usually, the things that come with like a little bit of a bad reputation, like, I don't know, graffiti, street art, and all of that. It takes storytellers, filmmakers, magazines to create and sanitize those movements for the general audience and say, yeah, hey, there's nothing wrong here. It's just cool shit, and people can take some time with their biases to eventually accept it, and then it's the new cool thing everybody loves. I don't know. I think about it like that in my experience, like, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'd say it's a bit more gentle. Like, I don't want to be as dogmatic and say like this is cool, right? I think that like I stop a bit short and like I'd say this is an option, like this is an alternative. And like personally as Dan, like I fucking love it here. Like I love this space, I love playing in it, like I love the characters in it. But I think the film sort of needs to be a bit more of an invitation, right? Less of a like, oh, if you're not in this, then you don't get it, right?
Yeah, that would be the wrong message, but
and I think
as you
said, a lot of people are turned off.
Yes, it's difficult to be a person and to see a group of people and go join them. You need to be asked in a sense, socially. So the same thing would have to apply in a larger scale of things, right? Like you have to make it inviting for them and cozy and non-threatening.
Fun. Yeah. Like it's like, I mean, you know this too, because like you've spoken with so many punks, and like, when you get to know the people in these communities, like beyond whatever the PFP represents, because maybe that PFP, it's like, you're only able to perceive it as a token worth a certain amount of money or something. But when you get to know the people, you're like, oh, wow, like that's the flavor of this group, like punks are a lot of fun. Rare Pepe is a fucking blast. Like the Rare Pepe community is so wacky, and like they're really just having a great time with each other, very similar to punks. And, I think to show that off is going to do a lot more work than trying to make a video like this is the right way to get involved in the NFT space. It's more encouraging people to have fun.
100%. I really love it. I don't know if anybody on the audience has any questions. You guys can raise your hand and we will pass on the mic. Happy to get you guys in. Let me see if we have any questions. I think we pretty much touched on everything. One thing I would like to ask before we close is you mentioned those collaborations and all the exciting stuff that's coming up. But can we recap a little bit and remind us what's coming up in the next months, weeks for the newbies?
Yeah, for sure. The newbies are basically like these are tokens that will make it accessible for any holder to basically mint these collaboration mint projects that we have ongoing for free. Our next one is actually dropping today. In the next few hours, we have a snapshot of all newbie holders, but then also there's like a few meme card groups. So if you hold like a particular card from 6529 collection or from fake memes actually, or from Sergito's Seize the Mevits collection, then you'll also be able to claim one of our meme cards for free. Then at the top of next week, we have our next collaboration actually being announced with like, I can't say who exactly yet because they're still getting their website ready, but a really, really fun satirical artist that's like come up with like, just like a blast of a project, like a really fun way of interacting with the blockchain. And those tokens to get started playing sort of with this game that's being developed, those will also be available to all newbie holders for free. And then a few weeks from that, we actually have our next collaboration drop, which will be an editions drop with an artist that I've admired for a really long time, who's featured in the film, doing really, really great anti-authoritarian work in a nation that is not very nice or cozy to the whole crypto scene. So I'm very excited to announce that edition to drop. I think like that'll be sort of like one of our first sort of like real big collaboration drops, in the sense that this artist doesn't do a lot of these with very many people. So definitely stay tuned for that. And again, if you're holding one of our tokens, you'll be able to claim these for free, plus the gas fee. And you know, I always also encourage people to, if you're able to gift a newbie to somebody who like really is skeptical about this space, who doesn't understand what's going on here, because again, it's a very frictionless way for them to be like, oh well, there's this other drop that like I can participate in, and I can go mint this piece, and it doesn't cost them anything. And if they stick with it for the next year, they will be able to build a really beautiful collection of crypto art from all over the space and from artists all over the world.
That's beautiful, and they will achieve that just by supporting a fantastic film, and they will earn friends, art, and good vibes. You know, get into NFTs. It's a beautiful thing. It's a new thing. People are not used to it, but I think it will. This sense of belonging and being part of something will replace the sense of being a fan of something. And we see that already, you know, people want to be part of the DAO, people want to be part of the collection, people want to be part of the collectors or this or that, people want to own that. So I think we obviously see it in Web3, but we are definitely transitioning towards something like that, I guess, in my opinion, at least.
Absolutely. You know, it's our dream that like people who are holding these tokens, like that they know that they supported this film being made, and like when the film is premiering and when it's touring all over the world, that like they can look at that poster and be like, yeah, I own part of that. Like it was me. Yeah, you know, but it's true. I mean, it's like, I mean, well, for you, Redlion, it was you for sure. Like you are responsible for this. You know, for all of our holders, that people can look at that and be like, yes, that's mine. I'm part of that film. I'm part of that community. I'm part of this tiny ecosystem on the internet that is just like really trying to do good work. You know.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's really what we're after.
That's great. I don't know, Dudley, you have anything to add before we close up?
It was absolutely blast, and great to have you here down with us, and I'm super stoked about the movie and what will come. I need to really watch closer. You here, the space years is so running so fast and it's so frenzy that we are really losing track, and we are also busy with our own project. But yeah, I saw the drop that is coming and it looks amazing, so I'm gonna check it out as soon as.
So thank you guys. Thank you folks so much for your support.
Yeah, man, it was great, and I will invite you back to the show during the year, or before some big drop that you guys might have. We will do another show, check with you what's happening during the production or at that part of your life, you know.
Perfect. I would love that.
Yeah, so we will do that. And thank you so much for coming into our show today.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk soon.
We'll stay in touch.
Yeah. So thank you guys for listening. Tomorrow we have another wonderful interview with Misan Harriman. And on Saturday we are featured for an interview, me, Dudley and I. So we will be talking about Redlion. Gazette is live, the first video game magazine cover ever. It's absolutely amazing. $25 for 2 NFTs. It really means a lot to us, and we appreciate all your support. Thanks everyone for listening. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.